right, welcome to VAR Espresso, episode 5. I can't believe we're already 5 episodes into this. It's crazy. We have Daniel, Leo, and I, Sean.
Hey,
how's it going, Daniel?
Fine, and you?
We're doing well. We lost Daniel. Daniel will be right back, I guess. When we were talking about before yesterday, I think. We kind of talked about how this has been pretty by the book. The chalk has run the day. I don't know if you know this term, Leo. In America, when they say the chalk is like if it's for like horse racing, if the favorite comes in every single race, it's called the chalk.
Oh, okay.
Chalk on the board. I think it comes from. So it's been like the favorites. Yesterday, I thought yesterday was the most intriguing day of the thing. Going into it, I thought Inter was going to struggle against Monterrey, and that's exactly what happened. But I'm not sure if it's because Inter have a hangover and they don't really care about this, or Monterrey is a pretty good team. I think it could be a mixture of both. The Mamelodi Sundowns Osan match was bad weather in Florida. That happens. So that was they pushed that back, so that started late. For Mamelodi, a massive win. Fluminense Dortmund, I think you talked about that. You thought that was going to be interesting, and it ended up as a boring result, but a huge one for Fluminense. And then River Plate, the South American teams continue to play really well in this. So let's go through yesterday first before we get to today. I mean, what was your take? What were your main takeaways from yesterday?
Talking about the first game, so Fluminense against Dortmund, it was the kind of game we were waiting for. I think again, confronting a team, Fluminense, that wanted to absolutely win that game against a big European machine, and they did it all for that. But they can have some regrets to have not won that game. John Arias was a constant threat to Dortmund. I think he was even named MVP of the game. Thiago Silva, who is 40, he keeps showing great things at his age. In my opinion, Fluminense deserved to win, and I think we are now near from the first victory of a CONMEBOL club against a UEFA club, because the last was Corinthians against Chelsea in December 2012 by victory 1-0. So maybe we are closer than ever today, and I think it's a good thing for world football. And if I can just add something, we saw the first glimpse of what Job Bellingham will add to this Dortmund team. And even if it was short, we can already see that he has the same body language as his brother, and it's kind of disturbing.
Daniel, these matches yesterday, which one maybe surprised you the most?
Well, I'll pick up when you guys were talking about Fluminense, because obviously yesterday, for those who weren't here, I predicted Dortmund would destroy them. I must say, Dortmund were awful. I mean, they were so bad. I think Fluminense, had both teams played to say 80% of their ability, I think Dortmund still should have won. But the passing was really slow and clunky, and I got to be honest, my takeaway was I think the tactics were all wrong from 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤. Setting them up in a 3-4-2-1 with the wide men being the wing backs. I think it felt quite strange. Again, yesterday we were talking about the pace of players like Gittins and 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤, And actually playing against an older defensive line in Fluminense, the pace in behind could be really dangerous. We saw that after about 10, 15 minutes, 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 got in behind with ease. And they just didn't do it. It was quite strange. But as Leo was just mentioning, 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤, what is he, 41? Like, I can't believe.
Yeah, he's still in great shape.
Yeah, it's really strange. Well, not strange, sorry. It's very impressive and surprising. But yeah, Dortmund were the big surprise yesterday for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I think, just for me, I mean, right now, the AFC teams are getting, I mean, it's been an awful start for them. Mamelodi Sunday. I mean, it's a massive wins for Mamelodi yesterday. Especially, look, it's not hard, it's not easy, when you have to wait 45 minutes, and I think, you're not especially used to delays in other countries. Here it happens because the weather in Florida, you get these nasty lines of thunderstorms that come through, and it happens. So you have to reset, and it's tough. I mean, when you have to do that as a professional player, it's tough as an amateur player. When you sit there, you're like waiting to play a match somewhere, and you have to sit. So massive win, but for Ulsan, look, it's tough. You're probably already out now because you lost those. You're on 0 points, and you have to play Fluminense and Dortmund.
Yeah.
River Plate 3-1 against Urawa. I think we thought the South American teams were going to be better here, and that was a big win for them. But just for me, you think maybe all these teams come in and have a chance, especially in these games where you're not playing. You can't lose games in this tournament if you're playing non-European teams. If you want to go through, I mean, that's clear as day, and that didn't happen. So those teams are probably in a lot of trouble right now. But that's my biggest takeaway, and then obviously the late match.
But sorry.
No, I just think we can go through it. But I think Inter's. I just don't think Inter's. I think Inter has half a foot in, half a foot out. They're kind of they're one of these teams where they just lost 5-0. We talked about it, and I just think they're kind of half in, half out, and it's something where they're maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go through and do well in the next stage, but they just look like they're going through the motions a little bit.
But you were talking about Urawa Red Diamonds, and I think that the game against River Plate was tighter than expected. Even if River slightly outplayed their opponent, Urawa had the chance to end the game with a tie if they negotiated better their chances. And in this game, I think individual performances have made the difference. I can think about the 2 assists by 𝐊𝐤𝐤 or the crucial saves made by Franco Armani. And the thing with that game is that it confirms the good start in the competition from the South American clubs, which have won 3 games and draws 3 too. So it's a very good start, and there maybe are the confederation talking about CONMEBOL clubs, which is the closest from European football.
I think too, this might be a very simple way to say this, but look, the difference between a River Plate and Urawa, It's hard for me to say that. They're pretty even. For most of the game, one team takes its chances, one team doesn't take its chances, and that's, I think that's, you can do that in League on, like, PSG, when they play these games, they have better finishers, they take their chances, and then the teams that finish a little bit below them, aren't as good at that level, so maybe they don't finish in that game, and sometimes when they're playing a team a little bit down the table. I mean, Manchester United is the perfect example. If they have somebody other than Aston Villa up top, they probably are up the table. And it's just, I think a lot of these teams are pretty even, midfield, the back four, keeper and stuff like that. And then the difference is going to be that, that star player for somewhere, attacking midfielder, the 9, something like this, that's gonna change the game.
Yeah, but I think we can make the same statement again concerning Ulsan, because they were dominated by Mamelodi Sundowns. It was a real style opposition between a position-based football and a counter-attack-based football, but they also can have some regrets, because they had the chance to score, but they didn't succeed to do it. So I think the last kick, they need more efficiency if they want to do something in the competition. And I think Ulsan is already out of the competition because of their next opponents. But 𝐊𝐤𝐤 made a good impression to me. Not only the team, but also their fans. And I want to see them in the second game, maybe more efficient, more clinical. And yeah, I think it will be interesting to watch.
They play Inter the next match on Saturday, and once again, Inter, who knows this, and Monterrey will play River Plate at 9:00, the late match on that Saturday, and that's at the Rose Bowl. That's going to be an interesting match. I think yesterday's matches have done something. They've kind of set us up for, an interesting match day 2 and match day 3, whereas, some of the other groups, you already know who's going to win. But, look, I mean, Mamelodi Sundowns here, if they can beat, if they can get a win next time in match day 2, which, it's going to be tough for them, but they play Dortmund, then they play Fluminense in match day 3. You just got to try to keep, stay within whatever against Dortmund. Don't get beat 6-0, whatever. And you're in with a chance here, Daniel. Just going through these games from yesterday, the last time. I mean, do you think the Inter? Do you think Inter is just half in, half out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out in this tournament at this point after the end of their season, and they just want to get to their holidays, or do you think Monterrey is a good team? Obviously Sergio Ramos pops up with the goal yesterday. I mean, where do you where you kind of sit with Inter?
First of all, apologies for the sound issues I'm having, hence why I keep dropping in and out.
Okay.
If I drop out again, I might sort of kill it for today. So apologies for that. As regards to Inter, I mean, looking over the match yesterday, you have to say Inter deserved to win. There were 3 or 4 opportunities where they really should have or could have scored. Martinez actually could have had 4 goals. He was unlucky to... obviously, he had 1 ruled out for offside, rightly so, but it was still a gorgeous finish. But there are another 2 where he really should have scored. There was the 1-on-1 opportunity. I mean, it was just after Ramos scored the opener. Actually, again, Sergio. Of course, it was Sergio Ramos. Who else was it going to be? but only a couple of minutes later, Martinez had a shot from, I think it was about 7-8 yards out, and the keeper blocked it from point blank range. That could, if that goes in, Inter, have immediately replied. Likewise, had an opportunity in the 77th minute where it was pulled back to him near the penalty spot, and he blazed over. So Martinez, who I'm sure everyone would agree would be the key player for Inter, because not only is he the top scorer, but also he's the guy that sort of drops in the space as well as being able to run behind. He's such a world-class striker, but he didn't seem to quite step up yesterday. Like, had he scored just one of those other opportunities, then we're talking about Inter winning. Monterrey, they didn't offer that much going forward. Although, having said that, Canales was causing issues as a creative 10. He had a shot from nearly 30 yards out that hit the post. But yeah, I mean, most of the Inter really should have scored more. And then this whole conversation is different, isn't it? Suddenly it's like, oh, Inter have scored. Inter have won. They're under the way in the group, but now they've put themselves under significant pressure because they're behind River Plate, and obviously River Plate are top of the group. Fair enough, having beaten probably the weakest team in the group, but now Inter have to get a result against River Plate, otherwise they're at risk. And then it comes down to between them and Monterrey, who does better against 𝐊𝐤𝐤. Right. So yeah, Inter have only themselves to blame, but I think they should have won. Really.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Every match, and I said yesterday, every match in Mexico is 1-0, 1-1, or 0-0, and it's just, I mean, every single time we go out to dinner at a local place, and they always have the matches on, and every single match, that's the final score. Like, you never get a 5-0, like you never get a 4-3. It's always like this. That's just the way the matches play out. It's amazing how that works. But go ahead, Leo.
I think it was also important for Inter to show that they could make up a deficit after what they have been through these past weeks. They had to show they have mental resources.
Resilience.
Resilience. And they did it perfectly. And I also noted that it was an interesting first for Luis Enrique. He didn't hide in this game. It was not. It maybe not. It is maybe not the perfect context for him to come in a team with expected mental issues in a new country with against a team he doesn't know, but it was a good first for him. And for 𝐊𝐤, we saw that he didn't change the Inzaghi's system. He played in 3-5-2, even if we saw a back line of 4 during 20-25 minutes, I think. So he uses what his predecessor did to help his players before to adapt his team to his strategy.
Have you, by the way, since I missed something, have you guys touched on any other matches?
Yeah, we have talked about generally how Asian clubs performed in the competition, and how also South American club did. So
yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, it also just goes to form, right, in regards to seedings, because UEFA are the strongest, and then is it CONMEBOL, the South America one? And then it's sort of the more exploratory. What is stronger? Is it North America? Is it Africa? Is it Asia? And there's more of a level playing field. Although, having said that, we haven't got to clubs like Al Hilal, the very rich Saudi clubs, which obviously will contribute more towards Asian performance in this tournament. But I would really like to go on to, if it's okay with you guys, to go on to Mamelodi Sundowns, because I think yesterday I mentioned that the key players being Ribeiro and Reyners up front, I think you got glimpses of that because there were 4 or 5 occasions of just these clever through balls from Ribeiro, who was sort of like slipping in the half spaces, the number 10 role, the second striker pocket, and just constantly playing those clever through balls in for 𝐊𝐤𝐤 Reyes. And he's a good finisher. He's a really good striker. And he could have had a hat trick. I mean, he had a narrow offside, so the goal was chalked off. His finish for the actual goal was really, really nice. I get the feeling those two could really cause problems against. Well, I mean, considering they are in the same group as Fluminense and Dortmund, I can definitely see them getting goals against both of those teams. Whether or not that's enough for points or wins, whatever, but I could definitely see them causing issues going forward.
Yeah, and it was a vital victory because it was a game against the 2 outsiders of the group. And with the tie between Fluminense and Dortmund, it's a real good operation for them because now if they just draw against one of those teams, they have a lot of chances to go to the round of 16.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at the table, as I said before, Group E, you've got River Plate, Monterrey and Inter level, and Urawa Reds, who have it all to do now. Urawa, even though it was 3-1, I don't really think they were in the game. For the first 30 minutes, they did nothing, absolutely nothing. It was River were completely in control, and even Urawa Reds. The penalty, they've got their 2 wingers have really good ball control, really good shift of weight and agility, and that's how they won the penalty, right? Just letting the ball come across and buying that extra half a yard. It was really, really clever. Also, you've got to give credit to who scored?
Matusa.
Matusa. No, for Urawa Reds. Because he had to wait nearly 3 minutes for that penalty because obviously River Plate, classic gamesmanship, slowing things down, making pushing and shoving, and getting the referee distracted a couple of times. Someone got a yellow card. I think it was Acuna. So I mean, credit to where credit's due for Matusa for actually putting it away after such a delay. But apart from that, River were never really ruffled. There was about a 10-15 minute period, and then the real shame, obviously, was before the 3rd goal for River Plate. Urawa were in it. That was like a 10-minute, 50-minute period of okay, putting some pressure, and they just made changes and attacking changes. So they put on another player to sort of put those crosses in, cause issues, and then they immediately concede. And it was a poor set piece. It was unmarked from 6 yards. It was not good. So River Plate looked really strong, really dominant, and they top the group now. But looking at Group F, Mamelodi Sundowns obviously at the top, Dortmund and Fluminense level on 1, and Ulsan bottom of 0. So Mamelodi Sundowns, I think you mentioned just as I clocked on, realistically, if they get 1 more point from the final 2 games, albeit against the stronger 2 teams, but if they can get 1 more point, that could be enough. 4 points could be enough to get you into the next round, which would be huge for a sub-Saharan African team.
And I think it would be easier for them to grab a point against Dortmund than against Fluminense. In my opinion.
Potentially, just sort of sitting back, and then because they have the ability to go forward to counter. There could be issues.
And from what we have seen from the 4 teams in this group.
And then today we have we talked about Al Hilal, Al Ain, the teams coming in. Wydad FC, Pachuca, another Mexican team, is going to play all European teams. So 4 European teams in it today. Man City and Wydad is the early match. Real Madrid, Al Hilal is at 3 Eastern here in the Eastern time. Pachuca and RB Salzburg. And then Al Ain and Juventus. I don't know if The first game, Wydad didn't have a real great season this year in Morocco. They had 14 draws. They only had 5 losses, but they finished a long way back in the league. They finished 16 points behind Berkane. When they won the to get in, I watched that game. That was a pretty strong team. Obviously that's changed since then. It was a few years ago. I don't know if anyone thinks, especially with the way City's throwing money around and the way City ended last year, obviously clearly one of the favorites in this tournament. It could be an ugly match. The other ones look, Pachuca Salzburg, once again, the Mexican team, it could be an interesting match. Real Madrid, 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤, who knows? Same thing with Real Madrid, didn't have great end to the season. So, and 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 maybe one of the stronger teams in the Asian AFC. And then, the late game, Juventus. I don't know what I still know what to think of Juventus in this tournament. Same thing. I think it seems like they're trying to spend some money and trying to build back after the way these seasons have ended the last couple of years. So it could be interesting. But of these games, which one do you think is the biggest one today, or the most competitive?
Personally, the one I will look forward the most is Manchester City against Wydad Casablanca because of Cherki's debut, because he is a jewel. We all know that, and I want to know where he will play under Guardiola. What will be his role? What he will be able to do in that team, and what he will be authorized to do, because we know that Guardiola's system is quite strict with his players.
He's gonna be like this.
Yeah.
He's gonna beat all the enthusiasm and the energy, everything out of him. He's gonna make him a robot.
But the thing is, with Cherki, even if he's not in a good day, he can unlock the doors, because he's that kind of players with just one touch, one pass, you can see things that other players, even good players, can't see. He can create occasion. He can do everything. He can play with his left foot, right foot. In my opinion, we talked about it in the first show. I think is, if we just talk about pure footballer, not especially tactical aspect, physicality, is one of the 10 best footballer in the strict sense of what is football in the world. I think you will see that if you didn't see him play yet, but he's impressive, really. And he's young. He's playing just since he's 16. So now he had mixed debut with Lyon, because coaches didn't trust him, really trust him. He didn't show that they could have trusted him more. But last season under Pierre Sage, and also with Laurent Blanc, with whom he got a good relationship. But from Laurent Blanc to Paulo Fonseca, he had a tremendous season. His stats are really, really good for a player of his age, and in a non-dominant team, because Lyon didn't have a really, really good season last year. So, yeah.
And of course, they might still be relegated.
Yeah.
There's a real opportunity as well, because the last two wingers that Man City bought in Doku and Savinho, both ball carriers, but both not quite impressing. I think Serginho showed more than Doku. Doku has incredible pace and dribbling, and we all know that. But his delivery and his choice, and I think that's the biggest thing for Guardiola, is the choice of pass. It's the choice of when to release the ball. It's interesting that he still prefers him to Grealish now, which I find unusual. But Cherki, there's a real opportunity to just come straight into the team. Because neither of the alternatives have really impressed so far. And Cherki does seem to have everything as a ball carrier, as a passer, as a finisher. I think there are more questions about, say, his top speed. So, like, he's very good at acceleration as opposed to be able to burst away like someone like Doku. But yeah, we've already seen his choice of pass is very intelligent, and of when to shoot, when to cross, when. So yeah, that could be very potent. But I think the biggest is not really a signing, but obviously Rodri is back. The world's best player, officially, is back, and Guardiola's system that he developed at Bayern Munich, where he's focused rather than having a double pivot, having just one defensive player patrolling space, really only works with Rodri because it needs that elite defensive midfielder. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to take time for him to be back. He's not going to be using entirely straight away because you need to build up his minutes, build up the playing time. But you do, I'll be honest, with Man City, you do assume that it's going to be an attacking exercise against a defensive exercise, and it just feels like, how many are they going to score? It's going to be very hot, very humid. So chances are they're not going to be going hell for leather. It won't be an entirely full strength Man City, or there'll be substitutions in strategic places. But yeah, you do get the feeling that'll be quite an easy 3-4-0. And it's all just about managing minutes and managing the temperature.
Yeah, it's like a swamp here in Philadelphia today. It's absolutely ridiculous. Next week it'll be 90. It's going to be like 100 Fahrenheit. So it's going to be like close to 40 Celsius all next week. So that'll be interesting because there's a lot of matches here. I know Sunday Juventus plays here. And there's a lot of midday matches, and that's going to be challenging. I'm going to just talk about this one match before I get out of here and let you two finish the show. I think Pachuca and Salzburg, it's an interesting match. Pachuca is not doing particularly well in the Mexican League right now. They're kind of stuck in the middle. But once again, it's not going to, I can't imagine this being a wide open match, and Pachuca is going to probably hang in there, and optimally they're trying to win the game 1-0. But it's just when you look at these matches, it's an interesting, especially in that group. They're Group H. They're in with Al Hilal, Real Madrid, Pachuca, Salzburg. So, if I'm Pachuca or, even Salzburg, whatever, if I can get 3 points here, look, Madrid's probably going to win the group. But you go into that match with Al Hilal saying, listen, all we got to do is, if we can get a win somehow, or if we can get a kind of a draw, whatever. I mean, if you get to 4 points, you have a chance to get through. And I think that's what these teams are trying to do. So it's a really interesting game.
It is. Salzburg, obviously, everybody's a bit confused why they're in, because UEFA were allocated 4 previous winners of the Champions League and then 8 from best placed rankings. But because Real Madrid won 2 of those competitions, they've got a 9th place, and that's how Salzburg qualified as the 9th best ranked team. But obviously, that's when you include that no nation can offer more than 2. So yeah, that's how they've squeezed in. It's quite a strange backdoor way.
And sometimes those teams that get in like that, I mean, you see this all the time in other sports. Sometimes these teams that get in and they keep hearing, "Why are you here? Why?" All the media, "Why are you here? You shouldn't be here. You guys aren't any good. You come here," and you're like, "Listen, I'm sick of hearing this stuff. Let's just go out and play and show them why we're supposed to be here and get through, and then maybe get into the next round." And then you say, maybe they win it. Maybe they win around the 16. So
That's a fair point. But I would point out that obviously, and this comes back to a conversation we've had in a previous episode of this, where because this is a 4-year rolling tournament.
Yep.
Salzburg aren't even the best team in Austria, where they used to be dominant for quite a long period. This season and the previous season, they finished second. So then they are, and especially this season, they were pretty awful until the turn of the year.
Yeah.
But they are, as ever, the model that they have these young, exciting, very physical players, or regards to like sort of pressing and energy and stamina. But I would point out that some of these players are injured, actually. So like Karim Konate is a really hot prospect up front. He's injured for the tournament, it looks like. There's someone else I've forgotten. But yeah, a couple of these like exciting attacking talents are injured. It's relying heavily. I pointed out in the preview that the key player could be Oscar Gloch, the young attacking midfielder. He's looked like an excellent prospect for a while. A lot of big teams have been looking at him for the last couple of seasons. But it does seem like a lot to lay at his door. And as you said, like there is a vulnerability about Salzburg. It's not as if they can come in and sort of perform at the highest level. It may well be that they're caught off guard because they're in the same group, as you say, Real Madrid, Al-Hilal, and Pachuca. Pachuca, this is their opportunity, right? So for Al-Hilal and Pachuca, they'll be looking at Salzburg as the quote-unquote weakest of the European teams. So this is an opportunity to finish second. This is a chance. Pachuca, again, I would say, like in my preview, I would point out their left-hand side is dangerous. So 𝐊𝐢𝐜𝐤 Idrissi is their winger on that side. He seems to be the most creative player. He has a really good relationship with their striker, Salomon Rondon, if you remember him. He's still banging them in. He's their top goal scorer, I believe. But as well as Rondon, Idrissi has a really good relationship with the left back, Brian Gonzalez. So you've got this sort of opportunity. You've got this option of like overlapping left wing back. You've got the winger cutting inside, both of whom are trying to offer crosses for Rondon, who is very much still banging them in from that kind of situation, heading them in, getting a run on the last defender, those kind of crosses into the box. So Pachuca can attack. It's mostly down the left, but they can attack. And if Salzburg have a vulnerability, it will very much be exposed by Pachuca, I think.
I think the difference between and this is just as someone watching from North America, the difference, I think anytime these Mexican teams will play games, they always have a chance to get a result. They might not win the match. They always have a chance. They play defensively strong. They're low scoring matches. Once again, they slow the play down. Sometimes you watch the games and they always have a chance to get a result. Like I don't think in some of these other games, and some of these other countries or whatever the representatives for some, you're like they even if they're not as good, they're not going to win the game. In Mexico, I think these teams, they're not as talented as some of these other teams, but they always have a chance to get a result in these games. And I wouldn't be stunned if they won 1-0 today. Salzburg is also, Salzburg is probably the more talented team, but once again, you see injuries and everything. So it's an really interesting game for me to watch, and the fact that they put it in a decent window and not at 10 o'clock at night is good to see.
Yeah, actually, something I forgot to mention because obviously a theme for this has been attendances. The Fluminense Dortmund game was 34,000, which is about 42% of the stadium. Now, obviously, going by percentages, the US is littered with these enormous stadiums. So, we're not expecting sellouts each one. So the Fluminense Dortmund one having 34,000, pretty good. Inter Monterrey, 40,000 at the Rose Bowl, which is again just under 50%, but still, that's a great number.
A lot of Mexican fans made the short trip.
Yeah, well, but now we get to River Plate and Urawa was just under 12,000. At Lumen Field is 67,000 capacity. So that wasn't great. But it was such a shame that Ulsan and Mamelodi, there was only 3,500 people there.
I think everyone left because of the weather.
Well, potentially, but I mean, there was the delayed start, obviously. But even tickets sold is only 3,500, and it was such a shame because I think, that's the sort of thing. Well, like I say, these are the matches where you like Mamelodi Sundowns going forward, offering something different. These are interesting games, but it's just quite hard to
nobody cares.
to sell the word.
Nobody in America care. Like that's just not. Nobody's rocking Mamelodi Sundown jerseys at the beach this summer. But look, maybe now somebody will because they got the win. But all right, I'll let you guys finish the show here today. But I'll be back on there tomorrow. So
yeah, no problem.
All right,
have a good day, Sean.
You too.
So just to bounce back on the Pachuca Salzburg game, I think that, as Sean said, it's interesting to me. It's interesting because I have no specific expectations about this game. Salzburg had a deceiving season on national championship as in the Champions League. I remember they lost 4-0 to Brest in Champions League.
So that was when their manager was oh gosh, who was it? I've completely forgotten. Never mind, I'll forget my point.
Yeah, I have his name in the. I know who he is, but I don't have his name. Yeah, and they changed something, but now the thing is, as you also said, they got talented young players, and you noted Oscar Gluck, who is set to leave after the tournament. I think I heard Porto could propose 25 million euros to Salzburg to engage to sign him. And yeah, what I just noted against for Pachuca is the good occasion to see Salomon Rondon back on track because he's 34, 35, I think, still scoring goals.
I think he might be older. I think he's 37.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. He's
but
mid-30s.
Yeah, but he's in his 30s, maybe in his late 30s. And yeah, I remember him when he played at West Brom Albion, sorry.
And Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle also. So it's good to see, like we saw with Monterrey, Canales, Sergio Ramos, or Thiago Silva with Fluminense. It's interesting to see those, I will not say legend of the game, but good or great players.
Experienced.
Experienced player, not to choose to go to Saudi Arabia or MLS, which now are the easiest choice, I think, for experienced player. They choose to something exotic, almost romantic, because for me, Sergio Ramos to Monterrey is kind of romantic. If you love football and a player of such a career, such records, a talent, he's a legend. Maybe surely one of the greatest defenders in football history, and to see him play in that kind of team, I think it's cool, and it's good for football to show that some stories still deserve to be counted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're seeing as well, it's interesting because obviously with the rise of players going into the Saudi League and Qatari League, obviously you get a handful of players, younger players, that see the opportunity. You see plenty of players in their 30s often do it. But it's when you see someone like Ramos, who was, I think, at Sevilla beforehand, and there was even talk about Real Madrid signing him on as a panic, because obviously they've lost a lot of their centre backs. It's great that first of all, it's his choice was to go to Mexico because obviously he had several other options. But I think what we're seeing as well, we're an increase, probably because of physical conditioning, players in their mid-30s staying in Europe still, because there are more physical leagues like the Premier League where the older you are, the more obvious it is. Not for everybody, because obviously there are other players like Salah. Mohamed Salah is in his mid-30s now, but he's still brilliant. But he is almost physical perfection, right? He's never had a serious injury. He barely gets injured regardless.
And when you just look at pictures he posts on socials, he's just a shape of a great sportsman.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think we'll see other like players remaining in European competition, where maybe not the physical intensity isn't quite so much, but also their technical ability. I mean, it was if you think about, obviously there's a back way when, but when Pirlo was released, was it by AC Milan? I think that he saying that he was too old, and then he went to Juventus and just had that deep line playmaker role. He was never the quickest, but obviously, like in the mid-30s, just still dictating everything. Having a technical ability and the intelligence to play still means you are an elite player. It's just not an elite player for certain clubs who play with a more physical style.
Look at Modric.
Look at Modric. That's a perfect example.
Yeah. And by the way, talking about Modric and all these experienced players going to US, Mexico, or Saudi Arabia, we can talk about Real Madrid Al Hilal from tonight, because Al Hilal is a team with what we can call mercenaries, because when you see that team, and if you don't know it's Al Hilal, you could easily say it's a good mid European team. I think with the Mitrovic, who has scored a lot of goals during his 2 seasons at Al Hilal, João Cancelo, who was playing at Barca 2 years ago, Ruben Neves, who has just won the Nations League with Portugal, and a lot more players like that. I think Renan Lodi also plays at Al Hilal. We used to play at Atletico. They have a good team, but this is not the same thing. Maybe because our perception of Saudi Arabia Championship is maybe biased by the fact that it's more like a money-based championship. But yeah, I think there is big differences between players we have talked about minutes ago and this kind of players.
Yeah, that's fair. But I would say Al Hilal has been one of the success stories, because obviously there are several clubs taken over by the Saudi states, but they weren't the only ones that were offering these huge wages. A lot of the other teams in the Saudi Pro League were. And obviously some teams have done it without any success, like Al Nassr, right? They spent God knows how much money just on Ronaldo, but other players as well, and it's not quite worked. However, Al Hilal, it has worked to a certain extent. You think about Neves, I think he's got a year left on his contract.
Possible.
So there's the possibility, for example, like plenty teams, say in Europe, are really interested in Neves. So actually, of all he does have a sell-on value. It's not just like signing players in their mid-30s. He was one of the ones they bought in his prime, and he's never been the quickest. So actually, as a ball-playing, deep-lying midfielder, he is among Europe's best, actually. And their strike, they've got Mitrovic, but they've also got Marcos Leonardo, who's one of the more higher-rated strikers from Brazil. He's an exciting striker as well. But actually, the key player I highlighted for Al Hilal, you may remember the name, Salem Al Dosari.
Yeah, he's a big star in Saudi Arabia.
Well, and rightly so, but first of all, it's great that one of the key players is Saudi, in a Saudi team, in the Saudi league. That's great. But obviously, he became more of a household name because he scored the winning goal against Argentina in the 2022 FIFA World Cup. He is still, despite the fact of all the money spent on the rest of the team, he's still their most creative player. He still has, I think it's the third most goal contributions outside of Mitrovic and, the strikers. But he's the one that creates most of them. He is really dangerous. He's 33 now, but he still has the technique and the creativity to provide opportunities for these big money strikers. So, I mean, I don't expect them to beat Madrid, but I do think Real could be vulnerable. Again, in my preview, the key player I pointed out for Real, because obviously they have so much attacking talent, it's sickening. But I said the key player might be 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐜, which is a bit mad when you think. But also, Madrid Militao has an anterior cruciate ligament injury or something like that. He's out for a long time. Rudiger has been out for a while and will be out for a fair amount of time still. They're the two centre backs, and they are both injured. So, in regards to centre backs, Real Madrid only have 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐜 and Raul Asensio, who's just signed a contract extension. So, they could play 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐜 as a centre back, but there is basically the prospect of 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐜 coming straight into the team just because of lack of numbers. So there is a possibility that new centre back partnership just playing together. There's the possibility that 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐜 1 or 2 crosses, 1 or 2 passes in behind. They could be vulnerable. I still think Real would win, but I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as everyone seems to assume it is.
And it will be the first start for. I think it will be the first start for Trent Alexander-Arnold also.
Yes, of course. And just Trent on the back of the ship.
Yeah, Trent. Yeah, that's true. And it will be interesting. I don't know concerning the forwards. I don't think Mbappe will play. I saw that he was maybe injured or he needs to rest. So even without Mbappe, if Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Bellingham are here, it's an attacking threat, of course. And the most important is that we will also see how Xabi Alonso wants to make his team play, and it will be interesting. And Inzaghi because he's the new coach of Al Hilal.
Yes, of course,
And I don't think he will use the same system as he used to do at Inter, because looking at the group of players he's got at Al Hilal, I don't think they're the most reliable players to do that, even if he can, because Renan Lodi used to play as Atletico as left on the left.
Was he at Marseille as well?
Sorry, on Marseille too. Yeah. So it will be interesting to watch how those two new coach will do at their new teams.
Yeah, funny enough, I actually think weirdly Inzaghi could be a good signing for Al Hilal, because actually I don't think, obviously his system at Inter was quite unique in how they played, having these roaming centre backs, and it was really fun to watch at times. I think they do have the players. We're talking about wing backs that can go attacking, like Lodi is a very good attacking wing back. But they also have, as I mentioned before, Marcos Leonardo, Mitrovic. They do have a potential strike partnership, one of whom, both having different characteristics, like physical characteristics. So that could work as if you want to say, like, comparatively to Inter. But also, it's been such a short amount of time, you can't imagine, again, anything radical, anything being able to implement new ideas.
Yeah.
Same thing with Alonso, right? And chances are he will not be doing the same thing he did at Leverkusen, because they're just not the same players.
No.
And apart from anything else, playing 3 at the back, you only have 2 centre backs. So like, if you drop 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐜 in there, maybe, who can then step up into midfield because he is a defensive midfielder. But it'd be really interesting to see this new system under Alonso, to see like where it's going. I think you're right about Mbappe, and again, sort of managing minutes in this tournament, because obviously Real Madrid have such an array of attacking talent. It'd be lovely to see Rodrigo playing on his preferred left, because he never gets to. He'll probably get the opportunity, but also we'll see minutes for players like 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐜, the Turkish right, like So actually, perhaps there'll be more of a balance about this side because understanding of the big names of Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, making sure they're rotated throughout this tournament. So therefore, using players like Rodrigo on the left, it will give this opportunity on the right. Now, am I right in saying you might do tell me if I'm wrong? Like, is Brahim Diaz back now at Real?
Oh, I'm not really sure. Let me just check.
But this is my understanding. He went off on a 2-year loan to AC Milan, and I can't
Yeah.
remember if he's gone back or if he's been signed.
Oh yeah,
permanently.
he was at Real last season.
So he's another So if you've got, say, for example, if he is there, if Diaz and 𝐊𝐤𝐤 are there, then you've actually got two options from the right wing running inside. So again, weirdly, the freedom of Alonso to actually rotate Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo actually might offer more balance on the right hand side. It might be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody doubts that Real will win the group just through sheer attacking numbers. Sure.
No. And what is funny is that in case of Real finished first in their group and Dortmund finished second in theirs, I think Job and Jude can meet in the quarterfinals if they.
I said yesterday that'd be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot it, but yeah, it will be an interesting match in the match.
I think Joe Bellingham is obviously a hotly highly rated youngster, much like his brother. I think there needs to be expectations change slightly. I saw him play a fair bit for Sunderland last season, and you mentioned earlier in the stream that it's scary to see the similarity in how they run, how the gates, like how they stride forward. It's kind of spooky. But Job is is less of a forward-thinking midfielder. So it does seem like he's more like, say, it would be slightly further back, less to do with picking out the right pass or like making those second runs into the box or trying to meet. He does seem to be, like I say, slightly further back in regards to where the play is. He also doesn't quite have the same speed of, same speed of thought, which is slightly unfair because, again, he's only just moved from Sunderland, and obviously by the age of 19, Jude had been at Dortmund for a couple of years, so he had been playing at an elite level. But yeah, he's just slightly slower in how he plays the ball, how he passes the ball. But yes, so I just think like some context needed for Job, who looks like he could be a terrific player, but not quite the same kind of player as his brother.
And from what I've seen from Job, I'll be honest, I didn't watch all Sunderland's game last season, but I saw a few. But yeah, I saw a few, and I think Jude is more a leader in what he's on the pitch than his brother. Maybe because his brother is younger, but Jude has something more in a leadership view, in my opinion, than his brother. This is not positive or negative, but it's one of the differences between them.
Yeah, but again, I think comparatively, so Jude moved when he was 17, I think, and he was playing in the Championship at 17 years old. So in just regards to development, he was already a couple of years ahead. So if you think about Job just finished the season in the Championship and has moved to Dortmund, so it's like 2 years behind his brother. So like Jude did it when he was 17, Job does it when he's 19. So it's I mean, that's still a young age to move to a giant European club. That's still exciting. It's still a wonderful achievement in itself, and you wish nothing but the best for him. But yeah, like I say, I think expectations need to be just
of course,
slightly, because in 2 years' time, we'll see. Okay, so like Jude had it, but Dortmund, there's more of a comparison there. Like, okay, with such amount of time at Dortmund, how has he developed? How has he progressed? As opposed to his age. But yeah, so regards to today's matches, I'm assuming, I think we're both in agreement, Man City will probably
slowly
sort of crash wide. And 𝐊𝐤𝐜𝐤 and Juventus is a bit of a funny one, because Juventus actually ended the season really well, and they squeezed into the Champions League, I think, or did they finish fifth?
No, they finished fourth in the last match day of the Serie A. Yeah.
So I think 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐤 really turned that ship around.
Yeah.
He seemed to have a really big positive effect. I think Juventus might be more of a surprise than we think. They have a really good squad. Their midfield is packed with really good players. I think the talk around Juventus not being one of the big players is a little bit naive. I think they're going to be significantly better than we think.
But the thing is that when you talk about Juventus today, you have to compare that Juventus with the Juventus from the Champions League final in 2017, for even with the Cristiano Ronaldo's Juventus. I think, as you said, that they're talented players, but wow, they changed so much in few years. It's kind of strange, because we used to see Juventus dominate Serie A for a decade, and now they struggle to even qualify to the Champions League. So it's strange to see how this club fell apart in just a few seasons. And it's a club.
You do worry about sorry to interrupt. You do worry about teams like AC Milan, who have had a very poor season. You worry about, like, if they fall away from the Champions League for a couple of seasons, then somebody's like, what's going on there? But they seem to be mismanaged from the top, and had just quite a strange season on the pitch. Whereas Juventus, like I say, there's been a slow rebuild. Especially at the second half of the season, things were looking good. Things had a clear identity. And actually, classically, it's very Italian, because the ability to sort of slow things down, control games, not concede. That's been less. You see that less in Serie A now. I mean, it's still fairly across the board, but the bigger teams have more control. The 𝐊𝐤𝐤𝐤 seems to have really gotten control of the situation. So I don't think it's a sinking ship anymore. I think now you're seeing that the financial power of Juventus will probably come through. And also, considering the squad, they do have the ability to sell and then reinvest. And now they're in the Champions League again, that just kind of solidifies that. That's been an hour for the stream. Is there anything else you'd like to add about today?
I think we've made a lot of points about all those games. It will be a good day, another good day of football with the big boys. Tomorrow we will talk about the 4 games of today and the 4 of that comes for the second match day of the competition. So it will be also interesting.
The atmospheres for Real Madrid and Pachuca, I think. There's going to be a lot of. I think that they're the big sellers today.
And also Wydad, because they have one of the best supporters in Africa. And I think they will have travel to US like the ones of Esperance. So it will be a good show.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. For those watching,
thanks, everyone. Do not hesitate to follow us on our socials, and we will meet you tomorrow at 1 p.m. And that's 1 p.m. CET and 12 p.m. BST. So have a good day, and see you tomorrow.
Have a great day.